Okay, so for this video, what I want to show you is how to create this thumb slot. So if you look at the plate over here, we're going to have an area where you can push out your cards using your finger or thumb. So we have to be able to cut that out. So again, when we look at stuff like this in a CAD and CAM software, you should try to look at a lot of this as rectangles or basic geometric shapes that you can add and then modify. So when I look at this, I see a rectangle that spans this area right here. Now I have to figure out what the size of the rectangle is and where it is located. And so as far as the size goes, it's pretty straightforward. Okay, so I can see that from the bottom edge of the wallet up to the top edge of the thumb slot, it's 0.891 high. As far as the width, we have to do a little bit of math. So if you look, I don't have an actual width, but what I do have from the origin is the distance from the left side to the start of the thumb slot, and then the left side to the finish of the thumb slot. So the numbers I'm looking at are 1.238 and 2.192. And so if I do a little bit of math, I can do 2.192 minus 1.238, because that's those two numbers, and that's going to give me a total width of 0.954. So the rectangle itself, the size, is going to be x 0.954, and then y 0.891. So I'm going to come back over to my wallet design, and I'm going to create another rectangle. And I just said my x is going to be 0.954. My y is going to be 0.891. I'm just going to confirm that. 891, 954. Now I want to look at my anchor point. So here's where I actually want to program this in correctly and not just try to align it later on. So I want to select an anchor point that makes sense and then give it the coordinate for that point. So when I come back to the print, I'm looking at this rectangle here. And basically, I want to select this bottom left corner. I want to program in this corner as my anchor point. So I need to know the location of this point. And one of those numbers I just used, this 1.238. And then the other number is pretty straightforward. It's on the bottom edge of the part, which if we look, that's 2.170. We've used this number a couple of times already. So I'm going to come back to Ericon, and I'm going to program in the anchor point. So the first thing I'm going to do is say, well, I'm choosing the bottom left corner because that's what I'm choosing for that rectangle. My x is going to be 1.238, and my y is going to be 2.170. But if I create it there, it puts it way up top. Okay, that's not where I want it. And so my y should actually be negative 2.170, and then it snaps it to the correct location here. All right, so now I'm going to close out of that. I'm going to delete the other one that I made. Two of them actually. So I click them and just push delete, or you can right click and hit delete. All right, so now I've got this rectangle, and what I need to do, I've got a rectangle sitting on top of my overall profile. This is where trim comes into play. So what I want is for it to combine into one profile right here. So I come over and I have a trim function. So if I click on this, it looks like scissors. I want to make sure it's going to rejoin the sections automatically. So make sure I click that. I come over here and I click once, and it doesn't look like it did anything, but if I escape out, now what it did is you just have a three-sided rectangle and then still your original shape. But I want to trim this one more time. So I actually want it to go away and close the scissors up, because now if I click, it created one profile, which is going to start looking like your actual wallet. Now I can go back to that fillet function, and I can fillet this rectangle to make it look like the actual print. So I'm going to leave it at 0.1 for right now, because if I go back to my print, I have two more of those corners that should be at the R.1. And so I'm going to come back and just make sure those two get filleted. But then I want to fillet these two, and those don't go to 0.1. They actually have a different radius. So if I take a look at my print, it says I want those at 477 thousandths. So I'm going to go 0.477. And I'm going to go ahead and apply that to those two corners. Now you can see this shape is starting to look like this wallet shape, or this shape right here. So now at the end of this video is just to create this rectangle. My next video is going to be how to create the O-ring grooves so that we can get all the geometry wrapped up.